Really? Anish?
Hi.
Shall we start now?
Yes, please. I'm ready.
Okay. We'll start now. Okay. Yes.
Good afternoon, all. The most awaited occasion is finally here. On this special day, we are witnessing a proud moment in the history of Caritas College of Pharmacy. It's really an honor for me to announce that our college has entered the Ruby Jubilee year of imparting a top quality education to the pharmacy world. Today, we, the Caritas College of Pharmacy, proudly presenting you the third national webinar on the topic Pharma 4.0, the next destination of pharmaceutical industry. We have Dr. Anish Chakkumkal, who has over 10 years of research experience in the pharmacy profession. He started his pharmacy career as the research group leader at Max Planck Society in 2011, then as a senior scientist and scientific team led at Janssen Europe, Middle East and South Africa in 2014, principal scientist and scientific team led at Janssen Vaccines and Prevention BV. He is the head of adjuvants and vaccine delivery system. This is indeed a precious moment when, with a heart full of gratitude and pride, we recall the milestones that we have crossed in our journey till this moment. We shall always keep ourselves motivated to do greater service over the years. I would like to take this opportunity to offer a hearty welcome to everyone who are gathered here for the third national webinar. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Sarjan Jose, the Academic Director of Caritas College of Pharmacy. We sincerely appreciate your dedication, hard work, and service that you provide to Caritas College of Pharmacy. So I proudly welcome Dr. Sarjan Jose, the Academic Director of Caritas EduCity, to introduce the speaker.
Respected Professor Dr. N.A. Likuti, Administrator, Caritas EduCity, Professor Dr. Sinu Thomas, Vice Principal, respected pharmacy teachers from different parts of the country, and all other distinguished delegates in this session. We are very happy to welcome you all again to the platform of Caritas Pharma Talk, a webinar series which handles only specialized topics relevant to the pharma community of the country. With immense pleasure and happiness, I would like to introduce Dr. Anish Chakkumkal, the speaker of the day, to the audience of this Caritas Pharma Talk-3. He completed all his education from India, B.Pharm from M.G. University, Master of Pharmacy from ITC Mumbai, and PhD from National Institute of Immunology, Delhi. Then Dr. Anish did the postdoc in Max Planck Institute, Germany. Currently, Dr. Anish is the head of the adjuvants and vaccine delivery systems, scientific team lead, bacterial vaccines at Janssen Vaccines, a Johnson & Johnson company. He was former Max Planck Research Group leader and formerly senior lecturer in College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Government Medical College, Caritas. He is having more than 40 publications in his credit in all leading academic journals like Science Group, Nature Group, Royal Society of Chemistry, American Chemical Society, etc. Dr. Anish is having a noteworthy high H index and citation index. Most highlighting achievement about Dr. Anish is that he is having more than 130 US or European patent applications, out of which 27 has granted. Some of them have licensed to big pharma companies. Dr. Anish received numerous prestigious awards: BMBF Young Scientist Award, Germany, Intel US Berkeley Technology Innovation Prize, VP Technology Excellence Award, Janssen R&D, Indo-US Science and Technology Forum Award, Best Alumni Award, and best outgoing pharmacy student from MG University. Dr. Anish Chakkumkal is a committed, smart-working scientist with vast experience in one of the leading industries in globe and is an apt person to talk about today's topic, Pharma 4.0. I am sure it will be an enlightening session to all the participants. We welcome Dr. Anish to this Caritas Pharma Talk-3. Over to you, Anish.
Good afternoon, everyone. So nice to meet all of you. I'm very humbled with the introduction. Thank you, Dr. Sajjan Jose, for introducing me. And I thank all of you for inviting me to this session. It's a great moment to be with all of you. Whenever I get an opportunity to interact with people from Kerala, I always find it's a great, one of the rarest opportunity. Today, my idea would be, is not to make a deep dive into this particular topic, rather to give a helicopter view about what is this pharma for, how this pharmaceutical industry is going to be transformed. Why I'm presenting this is that 17 years ago, 17 or 16 years ago, when I finished my B.Pharm, and then while I was doing my M.Pharm, I was asked to write a proposal. I was requested to write a proposal about a PhD topic. What should be a PhD topic? Okay, so it was for someone who is very close to me. I wrote a proposal that, okay, in 10 years, the pharmaceutical industry would be selling products which are cell-based, whole cell-based, or protein-based, rather whole cell-based. A cell therapy would be a reality. At that moment, there was not even a single cell-based product in the industry. Now I'm happy to say that that particular person finished her PhD. Now she is working for a gene therapy company which is selling cell products. She is working as a senior scientist in that particular company. So the idea is that we need to forecast what is going to come across in our life. So in 10 years down the line, how the industry, our profession will be getting transformed, we need to be thinking around it. We need to get ourselves prepared for that. When we are prepared, if you are not prepared to be forgotten. That's a story. So if you're prepared well, people will remember you, people will think about you, you will become relevant. If you are not prepared, be prepared to be forgotten. That's a kind of simple motto. And that's why I'm trying to give you some idea about what is coming across to you in next 10 years or 15 years. And that is what is titled as Pharma 4. The next destination. Actually, it's not a next destination. I'll go to my presentation. I'll try to share my screen. Let me know whether you can see that. Can everyone see my presentation now? Or not?
Yes, we can,
can
see.
You see it?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so the title of today's topic is Pharma 4, the next journey of pharmaceutical industry. I actually I thought when I initially proposed the topic, I thought it would be a destination. Then while I prepared for this talk, I realized this is not a destination, rather it's a journey. There's a difference between a destination and a journey. A destination is a clear target that we want to reach. A journey is a process through which you go through. You will think about what all things to be taken together. You will think about the plan, the route, a lot of things, a lot of preparations involved there. So Pharma 4 is actually a journey for the pharmaceutical industry, the next journey. Let's have a look. What does it mean? So the goal of the presentation, as I meant, is not to make a deep dive into a lot of content, a lot of information about Pharma 4, rather to give you a helicopter view about, okay, what does that mean? Okay, and how does it relate to my education? How does it relate to my skill set? So the idea is to generate interest and motivation among emerging professionals towards the field of digitization of pharmaceutical processes. So how the pharmaceutical processes will be transformed, how they will get digitized, and what are the skills, what are the technologies and infrastructures which will be used for digitizing for each pharmaceutical process. So before I really get into the discussion, may I ask a couple of you, can everyone accept the chat? Can you chat in the chat? What was the first practical experiment that you ever did while you joined for a B.Pharm? Anyone can write. Okay, would you please put a couple of chats? What comes to your mind? What is the first practical experiment that you did while you were doing a B.Pharm? If anyone can do that? What was the first practical experiment? Simple syrup, limit test, syrup preparation, liquid paraffin, nice, assays for ammonium chloride. Great. Okay. Limit test for arsenic, swelling property of bentonite. Wow, cool. So the idea of asking this question is that, I always believe in the first impression is the best impression. When I first started my B.Pharm, the first experiment, what I did was that actually getting practice for dispensing powder dispensing. So packing a charcoal powder. That I came to B.Pharm with a lot of concepts about how the pharmaceutical industry may emerge, how will I be prepared for pharmaceutical industry. And the first thing which I did was packing charcoal for dispensing to a prospective patient. I still remember that was one of the most difficult tasks I ever did in my life, because it need to have a lot of fine motor skills where you need to pack without putting stains of this charcoal on this butter paper, and you evaluate based on the quality of folding. A lot of things have been done like that. Now, on a hindsight, when I'm thinking, what should be the first experiment a student should be doing when he get into B.Pharm? I think in the future, if I make a forecast in the future, I do believe someone may start, even if this, I don't say that dispensing powder is not relevant. It's really relevant, because we may be dispensing more and more powders in the future as well. Maybe in capsules, maybe in metered dose inhalers, many other ways we may be dispensing powders. But maybe in the future, an experiment may look like this, and this is how Pharma4 may think. A Pharma4 thinking would be that, okay, we need to dispense powder. So how many grams? So we may be having an automated powder dispenser that will make a precisely calibrated amount of powder. There may be a visual imager that will look into how this powder looks like. Okay, there may be a barcode reader into the wire in which it is dispensed. So it is integration of multiple technologies, even to do a simple pharmaceutical operation, and that is what Pharma4 is all about. Pharma4 is converting everything into a machine-readable, traceable activity, and taking human out of the equations because of the consistency of doing things, because of reproducibility of doing things, and also to integrate so that someone can trace how the things were done. When a human is doing, it is very difficult to judge and evaluate how accurately it was done. And Pharma4 would like to transform everything into a digital format, and that is what is the whole concept all about. So I will not be talking into, I won't be making a deep dive, but I'll give a helicopter view how it has been done, why this is not moving. Okay. So the overview presentation is that I'll give a concept of Pharma4. I'll talk about the digital transformation of pharmaceutical industry. I will talk about some of the building blocks of this Pharma4. I'll give some real life examples. And at the end, towards the end, I'll also touch base on relevant professional skills which a prospective student should acquire in order to access a modern pharmaceutical industry. So that's a kind of an overview of the presentation. The origin and definition of Pharma4. Pharma4 actually started from the concept of Industry 4, which is originally a German concept. So it's the idea is that it was started from the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers. So they want to apply the concept of Industry 4 into pharmaceutical manufacturing. Okay, so it envisions highly efficient automated processes which could be continuous, batch, or hybrid. Continuous manufacturing means you don't make things as a batch by batch, but rather you keep on making it as a continuous manufacturing. And or it can be, and all those things are driven by an integrated manufacturing control strategy. So these are three important things: integrated manufacturing control strategy, and control strategy is a very important thing. So what we'll be touching base on this. Okay, what does this control strategy mean? Control strategy means when you make something, you look okay, how it was made, what's the pH, what is the color of that, what is the shape of that, was it filled enough, did I make the right volume, did I use the right weight? So when you, for example, when you make a cake, you look, okay, is the color of the cake right, or is the cake, the crust is crispy, or is it got overcooked? All those things, these are control strategy while making a cake. So anybody, a chef or a baker, when he bakes something, he has a lot of control strategies. He will make sure that the oven temperature is right. He'll make sure that he really makes the egg and the flour very well. He also look into the viscosity of the dough that we are pouring in. He will make the right shape. He'll use the right color. All those things are control strategies. Like that, when you make in pharmaceutical dosage form, there are a lot of control strategies. Control strategies means pH, shape. For a tablet, you will use dissolution testing. You'll use disintegration testing. A lot of things that you use weighing consistency. You'll also film coating shape. All those things that you look into these things. But nowadays, in a pharmaceutical manufacturing process, everything is offline. You make something and then you measure later. Can we make it in a continuous process while it has been made? Can sensors be fit into a tableting machine or in a coating machine? And can they visualize, image it, and do an online monitoring? So these are kind of thinking. Do the control strategy while things are made. So quality by design, not quality check after something is made. And that is what pharmaceutical industry would like to go. And that is what the whole Pharma 4 is all discussing about. And Pharma 4 reflects a shift away from focusing on producing a fixed specification. Instead, it revolves around a system of real-time monitoring, simulation. Simulation means, okay, even before you make something, can I simulate how it has been made? Can I simulate all the individual processes? For example, if I take the metaphor of or the analogy of making a cake, before even making a cake, can I use a computer visualizing platform where how the cake may look like? Okay, for example, I don't know, some of you may be remembering in the early B.Pharm pharmacology classes, you had some computer simulation programs where these pharmacology experiments could be simulated. Even this smoke drum experiment that you do in the final year pharmacology, where you put this, I don't know whether you do it now, but we used to do that. The frog muscle, and we test different neuromuscular junction blockers. The same thing you could simulate on a computer. So even before doing the experiment, you simulate it. So can we simulate the entire pharmaceutical process? That's also real-time monitoring, simulation, and control of the manufacturing process on real time. That's what Pharma 4 is all about. That's the definition. How does it evolve? It's not a revolution, rather an evolution. So if you look industries, we started with the mechanization. We brought initially all the textile industry all the textiles were made at home. We started with the steam engine. We started the industrial revolution where everything moved into factories. Okay, then we moved into mass production assembly lines where, for example, when the electricity was introduced, for example, car assembly, each piece by piece was made. At the end, the entire car was assembled. That is the Industrial Revolution 2. And Industrial Revolution 3 is a bit of bring of robots. Some robots which came into the same, so robots started doing some of the work. So humans were displaced, the assembly was taken away from human hands. Instead, robots were bought, robots kept on assembling it. Then we moved into Industry 4. That is what is Pharma 4 is all about. Industry 4 about is that, okay, is these machines, do they need to be alone? Now they work in islands, in isolation. Can we connect all these machines? For example, if you want to give an idea, if you're making a syrup, let's take an example of syrup. If you're making a syrup, there are a lot of things to be controlled. Starting from the powder which go to the syrup, you need to look into the powder bulk density, you need to look into the flow property of the powder, you need to look into the dissolution of the powder, you need to look into the taste, you need to look into the color, you need to look into the pH, and everything ends up in the bottle. So a lot of processes involved over there. Can these processes, and each process may be done by different machines. Currently, these machines work in isolation. They are not connected. So the possibility of internet, the digital technologies allows us to make these machines smart. They can have sensors in between, and the sensors will generate data. This data can be saved. So basically, the entire pipeline of manufacturing can be connected each other. They can talk each other. So we can also monitor what went wrong where. And also maybe if the particle size was, or the flow property was measured at one machine, and the machine can tell the grinder, oh, you are not doing right because the particle size is not good. Can you just increase the speed? If they can increase the speed and make it a bit more bit more size reduced, then it real time adjusts it. That's kind of idea. So basically, earlier the human will go measure the data, read out, and come back and readjust. Now to avoid it, can they talk each other? The machines can talk each other. Can the results be fed back into the grinding machine, and the grinding machine can grind it a bit more faster and make the right size and feed to the next session. So that's the kind of idea, connecting the equipments to each other, connecting the connecting the entire pipeline each other, so that you have an integrated data management and also integrated manufacturing strategy. And that is all about Pharma 4. So basically, what would an industry 4 and Pharma 4 look like? It will have a lot of components like Internet of Things, everything that you now see, a lot of artificial intelligence. There'll be a lot of robots which are connected to each other. There'll be probably, depending on the industry, there may be drones, there'll be autonomous vehicles which will move. Basically, currently humans move things from one side to other. I'm sure in the future there'll be robots will be moving things from one shopping floor or one manufacturing unit to, or one manufacturing floor to other manufacturing unit. So, and all of them will be interconnected. They can talk each other. They can see what went wrong on one side. They can also see what went good in the other side as well. So there's a kind of integration each other. That is all about Industry 4. Communication, communication, communication. So communicating each other, connectivity of components of each other, so that you have an integrated manufacturing platform. That's the whole idea. So what are the design principles which are integral to Industry 4? As I said, interconnection, information transparency. So there must be transparency on the technology provider operate, because we need to allow the technologies, different technologies which are interacting. We should allow them to interact each other. There should be a transparent exchange of data between them, because as you can imagine, different technology that we use, whether it's an IT infrastructure or it's a physical technology, they may be made by different vendors. So there should be a climate or a landscape which has to evolve, which will permit people to integrate different units made by different vendors together. That's the most important thing. That is not there, but I think the industry is moving over there. Currently, it is not there. Slowly it's happening. Technical assistance. So basically, the technological facility of the systems to assist humans. So far, basically, you need to change the perspective. So far, humans were operating a lot of equipments. So maybe in the future, the equipment will help human to make decisions as well, because it may become more interactive. It will have a lot of interaction platforms. Like it may suggest us, okay, how it has been done. It may have a lot of monitors. It may even have, for example, in the current pharmaceutical industry, if the environment is going bad, if something is leaking, the instruments will give you indication, okay, there's a vapor leaking, you need to get out. So this kind of safety instruction the instruments can give you. There are vapor sensors, there are organic solvent sensors, there are temperature sensors, there are, for example, helium sensors, or if the air density of a particular room goes down, these sensors can tell you the human to do that. Basically, the idea is technical assistance of the machines to humans for decision making. It can be extrapolated into any cases. Okay, so while operating in a Pharma 4 ready system, even Pharma 3 system, the instruments will interact with you, or you need to learn how to work together with or collaborate with an instrument, not to direct instrument, but rather to collaborate with an instrument. An instrument can be a robot, instrument can be even a mass spectrometer or a HPLC. They will also guide you in doing something. The next is decentralized decisions. What is decentralized decision means? As I mean, currently many of the decisions may be taken on the floor, because the operator looks into the instrument. Oh, okay, the temperature is a bit high, or the system is not running very well. The operator may make the decisions. But in the future, all the instruments are talking together, and the information is fed into something on the cloud, or in the on the cloud. All these informations are integrated over there. There are information integration, data handling systems that may be making a decision and giving a top-down message to you. So the decision may be decentralized. It will give you a message to you and say that, okay, things are not going right. You may take this intervention, or you should do anything. This kind of decentralized decisions may also happen. So the major design principles are interconnection, information transparency, technical assistance for the humans, and decentralized decisions. All those things will happen if and only if digital maturity is happening. What is digital maturity means? In many of the industries, even 90% industry currently on the globe are not matured enough to have such kind of a manufacturing flow. All the instruments may have to mature enough so that they can be connected. They may have to, so sometimes some of the instruments has to be decommissioned and new instrument has to come in. But I can see more and more instruments which are coming into the lab, into the shopping floor or manufacturing floor are coming with the possibility to connect. More and more they have a possibility of an communication board which allows to connect to a computer, connect to another network, connect to a database, connect to another instrument, and also to become as a kind of an kind of a network of instruments. So this is more and more happening. Currently, many of the old industries, especially generic industries and all things, are disconnected. But this is known as digital maturity. All the instrument facility, all the infrastructural facility has to be upgraded to reach this digital maturity, which will be the key driver, which is a slow process. So I said probably 5 years, 6 years, or maybe 10 years, maybe many of the industries may move over there. So the current students, when they access jobs in industries may be looking like that. So as I said, Pharma 4 is a journey, but not a destination. And Pharma 4 is not one fits all approach, but has some common principles. There's a collective principles to apply. It's not some kind of one single target. It's a philosophy of driving a data-driven business model. Basically, we believe data is a DNA. Data is the gold, and we need to collect data, because currently 90% of the data which is generated in pharmaceutical industry are stored in papers or in Excel sheets, or this are not used or very rarely used, because in order to use that data, we need to curate that data, we need to look into annotate that data. It demands a lot of resources. We can't do that because our resources are good enough only to run the pharmaceutical industry. So that's why the pharmaceutical processing knowledge is lost, and that is what we want to change it. We want to believe that this data is worth gold mine. We need to preserve this data. We need to collect this data in a systematic form, in an annotated fashion, so that computers and machines can read them and decipher results which are important for us, so that we can influence our process. That is what is the whole ideology or philosophy of Pharma 4. The key ideas are computerization, which already happened in many industries. Connectivity, which I said, which is also slowly happening. All the instruments are getting connected. Visibility and transparency, there's something which is slowly evolving. We need to have some kind of legal framework which also happens, so that which allows different vendors, different infrastructures can transparently talk each other. Traceability, that's the most important thing, because there are also no global rules which saying that all the data should be traceable. There's something called digital data traceability, a code which says that how all the digital data that you generated should be traceable. Okay, traceability becomes very important. It is said that if it is not written, it is not done. So basically everything should be traceable. So any auditor can look into your data that you generated, and it should be traceable. So basically an automated, and that's why all the new instruments which is now coming into the market, or currently which I am using in my lab, which has an audit trail which says how the data is generated, who deleted data, who saved the data. So I cannot delete many of the data, even if I manipulate the data, that can found out by somebody else in the audit trail. So basically traceability of data generated is also very, very important, very key for Pharma 4. Predictability, that's something, a new feature which is created. Currently, we cannot predict what may happen because we don't analyze the data too much. We can only, we are only reactive. When something happens, we react to that, we try to correct it. But we cannot be proactive. We cannot see that, hey, this may happen. When I bake the cake may overburn or may get charred because the temperature is very high. That kind of predictability is currently not possible. But now with Pharma 4 coming, all the data collected throughout the life cycle of the product, people would be able to predict. There are better prediction algorithms which may be able to predict, okay, this film may not get caught very well. There can be molting happening in the film after coating on the tablet. This kind of predictability may become a possibility, because we'll have a detailed production records which will enable manufacturers to correct problems in advance. Adaptability, that's also very important. That adaptability is a very important thing, because many of the manufacturing processes which we were doing, like for example, tableting, capsule, all those things have a predictive outcome. But when we move into complex molecules like antibodies, cell-based therapies, gene therapies, vaccines, where this predictability of outcome is not assured. So over there, adaptability is very important based on real-time data which is coming from the manufacturer. Because even if you kill one batch take 2 or 3 months. You can manage how much data is available over there. It's impossible for a human to, to look into the entire data set of a production of one single batch of a vaccine, because the entire production happens over a period of 3 months. And maybe, if you're making cake, the amount of data is very little. So basically, color of the dough, the viscosity of the dough, and the quantity of egg use or the stirring, there are only a few factors that you need to consider, which a human can decipher and manage and manipulate. That's not the case for a pharmaceutical product, especially a complex manufactured product. The manufacturing may happen over 3 months, so it's impossible. And maybe in the entire cycle of the manufacturing, probably 300 to 400 equipments, maybe 500 people, or I don't know, depending upon the complexity, many people may have involved over there, and a lot of complex logistics involved over there. A human cannot look into this data, this huge volume of data, and decipher something. These technologies, if it's connected and all the data are real-time connected on a database, then algorithms may be able to look into that. If algorithms may be able to look into that, that information can be fed real-time back to the manufacturing floor, and they may be able to adapt the manufacturing conditions. That's also a new possibility that may come over there. Currently, that possibility is rare because we have to wait for the entire manufacturing to complete. After the manufacturing is complete, then the batch is tested and released, and the qualified person says whether the batch is good for going to humans or not. If the quality control fails, the entire batch is killed. All the effort over 3 months is killed. Can we change it? Can we adapt on the fly while the product is made? Can the system tell us through real-time release testing? Can system tell us whether it is good or not? And can we adapt the process, change some bit or not? That's what is known as adaptability. These are the key ideas. So what are the operating models? As I said, we need to change everything. We need to update many things. We need to update technologies. So everything should need to be connected and adaptive. We need to believe that currently we have a hierarchical model in pharmaceutical industry. We think that somebody is better than other, or everybody works in isolation. Now we need to believe that all actors in the entire value network is important. So the information from the entire value network of the manufacturing cycle of a product has to be treated in an integrated fashion. That's the most important thing. And another important thing which may happen is workforce. Workforce means you and me. So we need to multi-skill, and we may have, it's not about multi-skilling, but basically we need to have, probably earlier, someone who can only titrate would be enough, but we need now people who can work with computer, people who can feed on touch screens, people who can analyze a bit, people can see visual imaging, people can follow directions from the robots. So many other things are important. Multi-skilling is important. And another important thing is virtual. There'll be virtual workers. Basically, maybe your supervisor is not a man. A supervisor may be a computer, which is giving you in messages from the internet or from the cloud. So there'll be virtual workforces. There may be robots working with you. Robots which collaborates with you. You may be feeding a plate to a robot. The robot is doing everything. I'll show you some examples. So you have to work together with the robot. That's also a very important thing. So that's also a kind of a new thing. And quality control. As I said, quality control should be should be online, real time, and it should be predictive. Another important thing, always keeping patient in mind. So some of the manufacturing, if you make a tablet or a capsule, you have a patient in mind, but you have a fixed formulation that you're making that's going over there. But suppose if you're making a gene therapy product, if you're making a precision product, a precision medicine product, for example, it has to be directed to the patient. So on a real time, from the hospital, the clinic, doctor takes a sample for the doctor from the patient, sends for genomic sequencing, and from the whole genomic data goes to the into the cloud database. Based on the genomic data, the manufacturer really makes a tailor-made product which actually suits the patient. So that kind of possibility is currently happening. So for many of the cancer therapies, for example, I don't know whether you heard about this technology known as CAR-T. I'll be talking a bit about that. This CAR-T technology, where the patient's own cells have been taken, they've been transformed in a manufacturing site, and then injected back to the patient. These kind of therapies, complex therapies, need this kind of quality control, which are real time. We need to really monitor the product throughout the cycle till it reaches the patient. So start from patient, end to the patient. So a patient-driven approach, quality control, is also an important operating model for Pharma 4. I just want to give one simple metaphor, and this metaphor would help you to understand the whole idea of. If you understand this, I think you got the idea about Pharma 4. If you have a fitness goal, for example, you want to reduce weight by 10 kilo. Earlier, you may be having, if you're smart, you're a bit more smart, if you're a bit more, earlier you may have a human counting. Okay, I'll do 10 rounds of walking, 10 kilometers walking every day. Yeah, that's good. I'll reduce my food, I'll reduce my meat, I'll reduce my sweets, blah, blah, blah. This will be a kind of a diet plan. If you're smart, you may have an Excel sheet based, as something like that, which you may track everything. You will write how much kilometer you run, how much calorie you eat, blah, blah, blah. But simply the smart watch or smart sensors change everything. You just try it over there. It will monitor how many kilometers you walked, how many steps you made, how many how many floors you climbed, and when did you sleep, when did you wake up, and what's your heart rate. All those things, integrated data, it puts into app and gives you a state of your fitness. And then you can also feed over there, what do you eat, how much calorie you eat. That gives you kind of a continuum, the monitoring on continuum, and trying to read the target on a real-time monitoring basis. And the same idea, that's the same idea for pharmaceutical manufacturing. Instead of earlier, you may do everything in isolation, in separate, and a lot of human manual interventions. You are trying to do everything into a real-time monitoring, like a smart fitness approach, a smartwatch approach, where you monitor everything while you do something. And it's not about the target alone, but about the process also. It's very important. So this, if you understood this concept, I think you understood the concept of Pharma 4. There's another, and in order to reach this height of Pharma 4 goals, we need to understand something called a digital twin. There's a very good idea. This word digital twin has been used in many contexts. For example, for a human, we are trying to create a digital twin also. People try to do all kind of biomarkers possible for you. For a patient size, okay, look into all your biomarkers, all your markers in your blood, in your tissues, look into genomics and create a digital twin of you. How does you look? And all this data is available in terms of numbers. So that they try to put you in numbers. What's your biological age? What's your heart rate? Everything in numbers, so that if you want to customize a medicine for you, it can be customized. That's kind of a digital twin for a person. Same thing, a digital twin of a process can also be created. If you know individual operations in the entire process, you can monitor them. You can convert everything in the process. When is happening what, and how much it is happening. You can convert them into a number. If you can convert them into a number, everything can be mapped into a model. And that model, that's a process modeling. That process model talks about the efficiency of the process, the quality of the process. It can also predict the outcome process. So people are now creating a digital twin of the process. For example, if you're creating, for example, if I want to take an simple example of, how do I make it very simple? So if you want to make a simple example of, again, I'll go back to my dispensing example of, dispensing a powder, a charcoal powder. In the modern pharmaceutical industry, maybe there's an automatic dispenser of the powder. It dispenses how much is dispensed, how the if it goes to a vial, which to what level it's been delivered, and which bottle it's been delivered, and what temperature has been carried forward, and what is bulk density over there, and what is the weight over there. All those things becomes numbers. All those numbers becomes fed into the process. And if 10 times these numbers have been, 10 times this process has been done, they got experience from 10 times. Based on that, it can easily predict what may go wrong, what may go right. And that is all about creating a digital twin. The entire process is being mathematically reflected in terms of numbers in a process diagram or a process flow. And that is what is the concept of digital twin, which is very much integral to the Pharma 4 process. Then another one is integrated data analysis. As I said, a lot of data is being generated, upstream data, the history of batches, how different batches perform. Then downstream process, analytical data, what test pH, color, blah, 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 content of the material, or the degradation, stability, all the analytical data. So basically all those data combined and iterative data processing, that is the centerpiece of Pharma 4 as well. Otherwise we'll be like this human. Now current situation is we have a lot of documents, a lot of binders like this. Nobody can look into this thing and make a meaningful conclusion, or it's very challenging to do that. We can only do on a priority basis. But in a Pharma 4, we'll have an iterative data processing using computers or algorithms. So as I said, I already mentioned it. As of now, everything is in digital islands. So we would like to move into something called holistic control strategy, which allows product from research throughout the development, transfer, and commercial manufacturing to monitor the product in end-to-end. That's one is holistic control strategy, and that's also very important for holistic control strategy, iterative data processing, a digital team, that is modeling of the process. These are the three important activities that has been done in Pharma 4. So how does the data flow of the future look like? Currently, as I said, in a modern pharmaceutical industry, we have everything based usually Excel or some kind of an CSV based programs where the supervisor, the manufacturer, operator, all of them feed this data, they collaborate each other. There's also some contextualization from the manufacturing system, the scientists and engineers, they collect the data, and all those data are a lot of sensor data depending upon the instrument, all the sensor data, but all of them are in Excel sheets, okay? But currently, this infrastructure may be a bit modernized or improved, because since already it's getting digitalized, maybe all of them will go to a cloud, maybe a private cloud, which the company owns, and there'll be databases. For example, this is done by a company announced Inside. They offer solutions for this integration. So on a real time, from analytical equipment, from bioreactors, by downstream, all the information will be fed into this cloud and become a lot of charts, which is very difficult for people to manage. But the software systems can analyze each data and give you some beautiful trends. It'll give trend analysis. So if you want to see an example, So another important component is process analytical technology. Process analytical technologies are developing tools, analytical tools, for example, props. A simple example is a prop. This inline prof is an example of a prof. It's on a microscope kind of prof, which we can put into a bioreactor while a product is made. For example, insulin is made or a monoclonal antibody is made. There'll be a probe put into this, which gives you online data, which measures everything which is happening for the cell viability of the cell, the degradation of the cell, or the stability of the cell, or the aggregation of the cell, or even how much product is secreted, how much impurity is being accumulated. All those things can be real-time monitored. And so this is one example. There are multiple such probes have been developed. If you run an E. coli fermentation, you have now monitors for OD, online OD monitors, you have pH monitors, you have pulsatile oxygen monitors, all gas monitors are available. So all these monitors are sensors, which these kind of new tools are also integral part of PAT technologies. And PAT technologies are also will generate a lot of digital information about the process to go into this database. And another important thing, so if you want to see one example, which is offered by Alchemy Innovation, what's happening is that in a physical situation, suppose you have cells which need oxygen, which need byproducts, nutrients. So we also need to know how much nutrient is being used. So if you have everything in a bioreactor, using this kind of system probe, which I mentioned, this particular probe, I-line F, we can monitor everything. We can monitor how much nutrient is being used, how much oxygen is being used, how much product has been secreted, how the cell look like, what's the morphology of the cell, if the cell is breaking down, or is the cell is healthy. All those things can be monitored. That information will go into the database. At the same time, after the cell is been broken, when downstream processing is happening, all downstream processing information can also come, and all those things can be visualized on a real time while the process is going on. So the operator can see, hey, how is my process going on? And a real time, it will be compared to all the historic batches, so that we can see, hey, how the process is looking at. Is the process running comparable to my previous batch, or my golden batch? There'll be a golden batch established as well, so that the operator get a full confidence that, hey, that is good, everything is going good. Earlier, what happened, the entire process has to be finished, the result has to come back, and then manually we will check, okay, how was it with my reference process? But now it can be done real time like this. Okay, and so that we can see, visualize, we can overlay all the batches and see which batch passed, which batch didn't pass, those kind of examples. So entire information upstream processing, downstream processing, formulation, which can be combined to that. So we have now these kind of platforms which allows us to do those kind of things. So everything is data. Data is a kind of a fuel of this new industry, this new pharma industry. So there can be different modeling can be done, statistical model, mechanistic model. So that basically, if you want to give a bit more detail to that, so everything, the success of the process depends upon the modeling quality, how well you model it. This mathematical modeling. So I don't want to get into detail, just to give you some idea. A statistical model means, they use big data, which is based on all current experience. It needed data. It actually gathers data which is on the real time, Okay, what's happening, how much pH change, how much temperature change. So real-time data points been collected. Based on the data only, they make a model, and that's statistical modeling. Okay, and then it's actually based on correlation. So okay, pH change, that's a product change. So there's a correlation between. So it's not based on causation. Why the pH change? They don't look into that. So they're not making any relation to the causation. Rather, they try to make correlations. Okay, pH change, that's the product change. So there's a correlation. So that's why next time they say the pH should not be changed. That's a critical process parameter. That's how the statistical modeling works. But whereas in the case of mechanistic modeling, there's some kind of mechanistic understanding. Okay, what are the possibility for the change in the pH? What are the mechanism under which the pH is changing? All those things can be mathematically modeled. So in the mechanistic model, they can predict the situations where pH may go wrong. So that such kind of situations can be avoided during the manufacturing itself. So, and I don't say one is good, one is better, or only one can operate. So depending upon the situation, depending upon the process that you use, these manufacturers or the pharmaceutical operators or pharmaceutical development technologies, they will select the right model. Maybe a combination of the model, maybe depending upon the situation, one model suits the best. That's the most important thing. So the idea of one of the company which is very renowned, this is known as Go Silico. The idea is that stop experimenting, do modeling. So basically, even before you do something, try to visualize what may happen, what may go wrong. That's what is the whole motto. So this is a particular example which I said. Okay, see why pharmaceutical industries are doing it. It's not because it's something nice to have. This is something a must have, because the modern products that we are going to manufacture and sell are not simple products, simple tablets, but they're very complex products. In order to find solutions for the unmet medical needs, like a lot of the complex cancers or the genetic disorders, we need to have complex workflows. So, for example, a cell-based gene therapy workflow will be like that. From this patient, through leukapheresis, will collect the cells will be shipped, and the cell will be selected, enriched, it will be modified. And how it will be modified? Using a lentivirus platform, which is actually manufactured at the biotech manufacturing facility. It will be manufactured, tested, cleared. That will be then used for modifying the cell, and this modified cell will be expanded. Then it will be harvested, formulated, and cryoviled, and will be shipped back to the patient, and it will be given to the patient. If you want to do this kind of complex manufacturing, which is currently happening for a lot of cancer patients, which is one of the most promising cancer treatment as well, we need to have monitoring, because this is not like a tablet which is manufactured and then used sent with its expiry date and given to a patient after 3 months or 4 months. This is real time. This has to happen in a span of 2-3 days. And over here, these things are quite important. This quality thinking of pharma for is quite important. We need to monitor everything, the cell's viability, everything during the the expansion, during the cell selection. We also need to look into or during the shipment, how the temperature, what is the temperature history, all those kind of things, because at the end, the patient also, we need permission of the patient also to administer them. So when we also a lot of interaction with the patient to making confident that the entire process being kept intact, and we actually keep this, the quality holy grail of pharmacy. So pharmaceutical industry, we need to, inform the patient as well. So that's why this entire thing has to be done in an integrated fashion. So that is a kind of a need of the hour. It is not because just a nice to have, it is a must to have. And another important thing is that in future, slowly, there'll be a lot of products made by pharmaceutical industry directly given to patients, not through intermediaries like, doctors. So patients may select some of the product themselves. So in that case as well, we need this kind of a data-driven approach, because patients need data. I'll try to give you some real-life examples, okay? Some of the real-life examples just to give an idea. So this is a kind of a blueprint of I took from McKinsey, a blueprint of a smart quality control lab. And this kind of labs that currently exist in many pharmaceutical industries, where so for example, if you have electronic lab notebook, so everything goes in electronic lab notebook. There's also voice, or like in Alexa, I don't know, or your Google Assistant. There are kits, there are, chemical assay kits which are available, which comes with an protocol which is ready for Alexa or ready for Google Assistant. So basically, the pharmaceutical operator do not read the process on a paper. Rather, he asks the Alexa, okay, Alexa, what should I do next? The Alexa would say, hey, please pipette 500 microliters. So if the human has to pipette, he don't need to pipette. When we go, the pipette already it has been communicated to the pipette. The pipette is electronically calibrated, and it will be calibrated with the 500 microliters. So the human only takes and does this, pipetting. So this kind of communication is already happening. And another important thing is that all the instruments are connected each other. They talk each other, and they also feed the information. And all the instruments are also electronically logged. For example, earlier we had a fridge. If the fridge is going down, when especially in the night, if it goes down, nobody will realize it. So now all the fridges we need to have fridges which can be electronically monitored. Basically, the temperature log of the fridge will be monitored real time every day. And what happens? And if the electricity goes down, it should be automatically switched into an UPS. And this kind of things happens. So we also have automated sample handling. So basically, the sampling, while the process is happening, the robots can pick up the sample, put it into vials, keep it stored for the next day, or send it to an analytical method. So a smart lab, that would be a future that is currently available in many places, but that will be future for many pharmaceutical industries. So another important thing is that automation. As I said, automation means even in my lab, these are examples from my lab itself. So if the operator in my lab, he just go and designs everything on the computer, and the rest, almost everything is done by the robot. The robot actually, even the NDA said the assay will take 2 days or 3 days, even starting from the pipetting, cleaning up, certification, drying up, and reallocating it, and adding the reagent, and feeding that into the microplate reader, then getting the data, and that sending it to, everything can be done by robots. So these kind of robots, so here we can stack all the plates, and we can basically, he's like a computer designer. He designs on a computer what the robot has to do, everything. So that in many of my teammates, what they're doing is that they're even sitting in my office, especially during the COVID time, their labs were locked down. They sit in their office, in the home. From there, they can remotely access the computer. From there, they actually configure their experiment to say what the robot should need to do. So, okay, add 500 microliter, shake it, keep it in 25 degrees Celsius, and recool it. Then take 55 microliter from there, add to another 2. This kind of endure recipe, they're actually recipe creators. And then these robots can do that. And these robots can also cooperate each other as well. This one robot can feed the plate from here to second robot as well. There are a lot of examples like this. Even currently in my lab, many of the operations are done like that. And then these robots can also cooperate with other instruments as well. This robot can take, this arm can take the ready plate. For example, if you want to do a multispectrophotometry, multispectrometry, the samples has to be cleaned up, for example, dialyzed, cleaned up, and should be spotted with a matrix on and target. And this target has to go into mass spectrometer. Entire thing can be done by the robot. Robot can do everything. Take the sample, allocate it, dialyze it, and spot it with, or dry it, or even purify it using a small micro column. And then the purified material, spot it on together with the matrix, and feed the target directly into the multi-spectrophotometer and multispectrometer, and the multi collects the data. The data comes directly to into your database. That data that you can access from home, sitting on a home. This kind of idea. This is also currently happening in many pharmaceutical industries, especially in the analytical field. And another example is this is a very cool technology, OptiworX. OptiworX is smart process guidance. So basically, you have a kind of a this immune suit, which we call like this PPE kit, the immune suit that we use in production platforms. So together with that, you have something like a Google Lens. You have a kind of an augmented reality lens, which you wear, and wherever you go, the instrument it automatically interact with you. For example, if it allows, I'll try to show you this YouTube video just for a minute, or otherwise you can watch it later. I don't know whether this YouTube video can play. Maybe you can watch late. Okay. You can't see it, am I right? Because I'm sharing another video, another. Okay, moment.
Not able to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, so this is from a very good company of Goodly Innovations. What they're doing is, so you see, this is how does this Google glass is working. But not the Google glass, the glass made by them, not OptiworX. the operator wears this and just go to the equipment, so basically through the augmented reality, it's been projected over there. It says what to be done over there. So he exactly does he just touched, he don't even touch it. He's been directed. So earlier there should be so this idea is a very cool idea. So something like this. I think I suggest you to read it later. I mean, view the video later, but let me go into the presentation in the interest of time. Another great example is how this AI or artificial intelligence can be used for drug discoveries, not just on the manufacturing, but even in the case of discovery modeling. A lot of all the protein modeling or the computational drug design tools, all those things were kind of an effort to move in this field. But now even artificial intelligence is playing a most important role over there. So basically, we can. If you don't need a data, even the computer itself can generate, it can create novel molecules. It can, by seeing one molecule, it can learn from the molecule and it can create thousands or millions of molecules, and it can fit into a receptor collector, receptor cavity or active site, and look into, it can auto create it by itself, okay, by its own, if you give a training sets, okay, these are the 10 molecules which binds to this particular receptor. Just give this molecule, it can deduce important parameters or important qualities for each of these molecule, and from that creates a training set. Then it trains the system, and this neural network can then really auto create new molecules which look like this molecule, which will also then look into its binding or fitting into these active sites and come with better molecules. And this is something which IBM is offering now, and many pharmaceutical industries are currently using this AI induced accelerator, the accelerator or the discovery accelerator. I don't know, it has a name, I forgot the name. It's a very cool technology. And it's not just that, even Microsoft recently launched something called Project Hanover. What Project Hanover is doing is a really interesting thing. Again, what I said is that when a patient comes to the hospital, especially for cancer treatments, the patient's a plethora of data has been collected. It's the entire set of data from its genetic sequences, its plasma protein levels, its biomarkers. All those data is available, which is very difficult for a doctor. And at the same time, what treatment really suits, because maybe that patient has a special mutation, and if that mutation is available, we need to tailor a precision medicine to that particular patient that suit that patient. And what that suit, that information may be available in the literature, or maybe available from the experience from another clinician, and there's no time to interact. Then if you have a tool, something like this Project Hanover, trying to aim is that they want to create an kind of a molecular tumor board. Molecular tumor board means it will have a kind of a system where all this molecular information about how this patient responds to it in the past, about a particular medicine, what kind of sequences are available over this patient, what kind of mutations are available over for this particular patient, and for this particular mutation, which kind of drugs is available, and what is the experience from other patients using a particular drug with this particular mutation. So all this information put together. So basically, this particular algorithm acts as a kind of a molecular tumor board, and that will then guide the physician to use that. And that's a very cool idea. And they call this known as curation as a service. Basically, the curation of the data, the whole data which is lying about the patient, from the patient and also from other patient, from a trial or everything, this information a human cannot curate. So they offer an algorithm which will curate for you, and it acts as a kind of a guidance tool, and will guide you, guide the investigator, or guide the discovery scientist or the clinician to act over there. That's a very good example which is currently running. It's also in the spirit of Pharma 4. It's okay. Another example is this AI-induced Aizon. Aizon is something similar to what I shown earlier. If you have a bioreactor, the entire bioreactor is mapped using different sensors, and the data set from how the pH changes, how the color changes, how it's getting aerated, how the cells are growing, all those things, all the critical quality attributes and the critical process parameters will be gathered, will be modeled by Aizon, and Aizon will give you a kind of feedback how your bioreactor and went good or not, and how was it comparable to a previous run or not, or is it comparable to a golden batch or not. That's a very cool technology which many pharmaceutical industries are currently using. Another important is for the DSP. It's not just for fermentation. Once the protein is made in a bioreactor, it has to go through multiple rounds of fermentation. Maybe tangential filtration is there, maybe buffer exchange is there, maybe a lot of chromatography steps over there. Or the entire thing can be model using this formulation. It's technology known as DSPS simulation software, which is what it's doing is that it actually takes column data, which column is used, system data, how the system performed, chromatographic data, how the protein eluted, all those data bring into mathematical modeling. And from there, it also makes a lot of thousands of purification modeling over there. It can also do simulation over there, and it can give you an idea of what would be your elution criteria, which column you should use, which column, how much the column should pack, what flow rate you should use, and what gradient that you should use. That will give you some kind of idea even before you do something. And that is known as, it's a very good simulation software. It's also enabling the Pharma 4. And a lot of biopharma is using it, and this particular technology has been now taken over by it was from a startup company known as Go Silico. Now it's been taken over by a major biopharma company known as Cytiva. It's very widely used nowadays. Another is not just on manufacturing, even the clinical side. So basically, it's a very steady batch. Especially for clinical trials, it's nothing else. As a batch example is like a kind of metaphor which I use for the smartwatches. It's a kind of smartwatch, but it has everything. It has an electrocardiogram, heart rate, electrodermal activity, initial movement. So basically, if you are doing a cardio therapy, clinical trial, the patient will wear this thing. It will give you all the information about the patient to you. It will feed back to you on a real-time basis. So this is especially made for trials. So people are trying to use these kind of smart tools for that as well. And even why do you want to talk about very steady? Even new iWatch is coming with an ECG already inbuilt in that. So basically, the world is moving into these wearables. Another example is e-adherence from substitution. It's a very good example where if you want to monitor the patient adherence, so basically there'll be smart labels. The labels are smarter, and using a smartphone, it actually every time when you take a medicine, you can read the QR code that will be registered. So the registry is automatic from the patient, and when the patient every time take, it will be monitored. So basically, you get automatically the information how good the patient is doing. If the patient is sticking to the therapy, is he skipping any dose, what dose has been taken. All those things been correctly monitored. As a very good tool, which became popular. It's not an e-adherence, and another good example. Another example is e-temp log. It's pronounced temperature log. Same thing on a smartphone base. There'll be a small sensor put into the shipping components while you ship organs, while you ship proteins, while you ship the drug substances. Especially in this complex manufacturing, if you ship a cell, you put a sensor, the sensor will keep on logging the temperature. So all the temperature escalations happening. So if whether the cell was stored at the proper temperature, whether it was held in the airport and people forgot to replenish with the dry ice, all those things will be mapped, and you'll get a clear real-time picture about how the product was stored. And that's a great example of the ideology, this philosophy of Pharma 4 has been implemented. This is a very good tool, e-temp log. And another one is patient reported outcomes, and EPROs. It's another technology where we can ask patient can a lot of questions. What is the patient's point of view? How the patient feels after taking the medicine? And for example, it's very good for post-marketing surveillance, phase for clinical trials. And we can always get reliable, smaller and faster, safer trials by doing these kind of things. So during a trial, patient gives you all the information. How do I feel? Whether how is my motion? How is my am I feeling dryness? I'll feel my dizziness. All this information can be real time fed by the patient on a smartphone to the trial investigators. It's also a tool which has been used. So these are a few examples of how this has been implemented. And some of the products, so there are many registered products which are using this technology, like continuous manufacturing products. For example, this Vertex Simdeco is a very good example, and from Janssen, this Persista is a very good example. These are all products which are currently commercially available, manufactured through these kind of enabling technologies, these continuous manufacturing products or continuously monitored products. So the last part is, how can you be prepared for Pharma 4? As a student, you may ask, what should I do and what should I learn? How should I upskill myself so that I will be prepared for this modern pharmaceutical industry? So the technology pillars, if you look for the industry, there are a lot of things, cognitive computing, RFID technologies, which will be monitoring, which can search and trace everything. There'll be Internet of Things, a lot of big data, so data visualization, data handling, data manipulations. There'll be advanced robotics, 3D printing. There'll be medicines 3D printed in the future as well, for sure. There'll be organs printed as well. Okay, many things. I mean, even this, if you go back to the cake analogy, so you can easily print cakes now. Okay, there are 3D printers which will print cakes rather than baking cakes. So this additive manufacturing will be, even people are now 3D printing houses. People are 3D printing bridges. So additive manufacturing will also bring value to pharmaceutical manufacturing. So this is also a, I think, technology pillar which will add into pharmaceutical manufacturing, mobile technologies, cloud computing. So these are the technology pillars. We can't be expert of everything, but we need to be aware about everything. Or a few of the things we need to learn how to manage it. For example, Internet things, how to operate with them. Cloud computing. We need to understand the basic concept of cloud computing. You guys are all already using it. If you're using a Google Drive, you're already using a cloud computing. So, if you're using an tag, you're already using an RFID technology. Okay. So, and you are all already using robotics, because, I'm sure all of you live with a robot every day. Without Google, nobody can live nowadays. So your Google is a robot. Every day you ask robot, what's the best book to read? Which movie to read? So you believe Google more than a human nowadays. So basically, this is coming to your life. So you need to enable yourself to work together in this new landscape, a new complex landscape, so that you can navigate easily in this. That's the most important thing. You should know the technology pillars. And then you should first develop a kind of the most important thing is that, unfortunately, what you learn today is not relevant in 3 days, in 3 years or 4 years. Things become outdated. The Android, when we started, it was probably 1, now it's Android 10, so 11 or 12. So things keep on changing on a day-to-day basis. You need to upskill yourself. So your skill building is very important. Continual evolution is very important. Radical need skills. So you need to sometimes you have to forget everything that you did. The way you are doing, you need to drop everything, get new skill. That's also very important. That's the most important thing for a next generation of workforce. A digital first mindset. Think that things go digital. Very, very important. You must have this mindset, digital first. Second important is ability to work with automated systems. So for example, earlier if I want to order a coffee, I'll go to a shop, ask someone to give me a coffee. Now, in many places, wherever I travel in Western Europe, I'll have a machine. I swipe my card. I say which coffee I need. It gives me automatically, the cup pops up. Even I don't need to put the cup. Often the cup pops up, give the coffee. In some of the machines, even it allows me to save my profile, Anish coffee. So to put how much strength of coffee I need, how much sugar I need. So I'm learning how to operate within a machine. You guys also always do that. Basically, many of you are using an HEM, is a robot, am I right? It actually gives you money out. So you need to learn how to work with the robot. There'll be complex robots coming over there. So be ready to work together with machines. And then I think some of the skill that we all need to do is you need to be aware about how to visualize the data. Basically, graphing is an example of an visualization. It's an old way, but what are if you see now with the news, if you know the Manorama news or any of the news, all of them comes with beautiful data visualization. We all make fun of Manorama for creating all the maps. All these maps, it means they are visualizing the data. So you need to learn how to visualize the data. What are the tools which are used for? Many of the tools available for data visualization are free, of course, in the internet. Try to train yourself. For example, RStudio or something like that, or also try to pick up some data visualization programming skills as well. That may be also helping in the future. You need to have connected thinking. Never think that what you do alone doesn't have impact. Okay, you always think that what I do, anything which I do will have an impact on something somewhere else. Okay, so to have connected thinking, what would be impact of my activity on somebody's activity? What is the impact of somebody else's activity on my activity? This kind of a connected thinking also has to be there. The last one, most important thing, is think about the talent gap. Do I miss anything? How can I catch up with this thing? What do I miss? And then try to reskill yourself so that you can come over there. So there's not a single solution. The most important thing is always develop a digital first mindset. Try to work toward, develop abilities to work with automated systems. I mean, just to give a simple example, in the past, if we were doing a microscopic identification of a pharmacognostic product or a kind of an natural product. You'll take a microscope, look into this thing, identify this thing. Probably that is irrelevant in the future. Now you may have microscopes which are connected to the smartphone. Even with a $5, you can buy those kind of this folderscope which actually can monitor and capture high resolution images and identify things. So things will move fast in that speed as well. So always think I need to work with a tool or an automation system. I need to have a connected thinking and always try to reskill yourself. That's all. Thank you. Over to you. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer.
This is the time for questions. Dr. Anish. Anish, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So we thought that this era which is going to come is automation. So what about the opportunities of pharmacist or budding pharmacist in the future?
I think that a lot of opportunity. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, what? Sorry, go ahead.
It's clear.
Okay, I mean, it's opportunities means there will be a lot of jobs misplaced. Many of the jobs that is currently there may not be there. A lot of jobs will disappear because robots will take over a lot of the jobs. That doesn't mean that we will become unemployed. There'll be a lot of new jobs as well. A lot of new jobs. The only question is, are we ready to take those jobs? How can we upskill or reskill ourselves so that we can access these jobs? So, for example, I mean, as I said, robots may take over, but somebody need to be there to create the robot, so they control the robot, or to help the robot to take the right decisions. Or sometimes robots, all the instruments generate a lot of data. You may need somebody to interpret the data which has been visualized, or also to create platforms to visualize them. Okay, I mean, another important thing is that now almost all the companies are doing computerized system validation, CSV. Computer system validation means they do all the instrument validation, everything through on a computerized one. So they have algorithms to do that. But we need people. There's a heavy shortage of people who can do that. Okay, so who are trained in that. So who are trained in process engineering of a pharmaceutical process. So these are short courses, not a big courses, long courses. People may be able to learn them. There are only a couple of softwares which are doing this, and then people may be able to add value over there. So basically, you are not just an operator, but you are working together with the computer to understand the process better one. So these are the new kinds of jobs which are created. Another example is logistics. So as I said, now earlier logistics means you pack things and ship it out. No, it's not a courier service. Maybe in the future, logistics means you may have to work with new logistics system like new temperature logs, or maybe new weapons logs, or also maybe barcode readers, or also maybe multiple barcodes. So basically, there'll be logistic of pharmaceutical logistics is a very important activities. Earlier, we make and ship, we store at some place. We have C&As and stockists and all those kind of things. May not be relevant in the future for many of the complex medications. Maybe pharmacists involved directly in the logistics, who decides where to store, when to store, even monitoring it, even to sign it, it's been properly regulated. So that will be a new job created, I'm sure. And another thing, maybe pharmacists may also involved in can learn involved in this data analytics or data integration, data annotation, and this, as I said, the curation, data curation as a service is a very interesting thing. So using softwares, a lot of new jobs will be created. I think imagination is a limit, but we may have to upskill ourselves, learn ourselves, and try to get some more new skills as well. That's very important.
Okay, that means we need to reset our curriculum, isn't it?
Very, very important. I think curriculum, it's time to think about that as well. Are we ready for the new future as well? We may have to think about that, and I'm sure these kind of aspects will also be taken into consideration while we revise our curriculum. Otherwise, some of the skills that we are acquiring maybe become obsolete, or maybe can be done by someone else. So, of course, curriculum, upgrading curriculum, updating curriculum is an important part of that. And I see some places it's already happening. Not just in abroad or Western world, but also in India, I see there's an effort to upgrade the curriculum to reflect this.
Okay. Dr. Anish, there is a question in the chat box from Kottayam, that is Pharma 4 or higher, how it can take care of natural products containing formulations?
I think it is irrespective whether it's a natural product or a product made by pharmaceutical. I mean, if you see a cell is a natural product, right? There's no difference over there. So it is. I mean, the principles are the same. So we need to have good manufacturing practice brought into in a digitized platform. So if you just examine, let's take a Taxol. Taxol is a natural product which has been which produced by extracting from bark. Am I right? So if it's go through the natural product, that line we may have to think two lines. One is that okay, we have to make it the entire extraction process and the entire formulation process consistent and with things which can monitor, which can integrate the information. All those things are required. But maybe another way of thinking is that okay, do we need the people may think that do we need the bark? We don't need the bark. Can we get the entire genetic sequence or genetic machinery which produce a Taxol from the plant bark, plant cell? Can we put into a recombinant cell and go in a bioreactor? And having said that, currently Taxol is not produced from bark, currently produced from a recombinant tissue culture. Same story about another saponin, which is QS21, which is a vaccine adjuvant, which was earlier produced from Qualia saponaria, bark of the trees from Chile. Now it's not no more produced, or it's very rarely produced over there. Now people try to either make it chemically synthesized or try to make it in a bioreactor in an in vitro cell culture. So it's both sides. Natural product means we will try to bring it into the system which fits in the Pharma 4, okay, which fits into this continuous manufacturing platform, continuous monitoring platform. That would be the idea.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions? Audience can ask, or you can put in your chat box. I think, Anish, we can wind up now. There is no more questions.
Thank you, sir, for your sincere and valuable information.
One second, Anish. Anish, please.
No, nothing.
Okay.
We are indeed greatly honored with your presence here today. Your well-crafted words truly inspired this gathering, including me, and I would like to extend our gratitude towards you for your invaluable and indispensable contribution through your innovative ideas and stimulating inputs on this theme, Pharma 4.0, the next destination of pharmaceutical industry. Dear sir, our sincere appreciation is extended to you. We promise you that we would reach heights in our life using these perspectives and will be successful in the ways you have inspired us. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Sister N.A. Elikuti to pose the vote of thanks.
As we have come to the end of this webinar, I would like to thank everyone who are present here. And first of all, I would like to say thanks to Dr. Anish, who was my student at Tiruvallur. I feel so proud of you, Anish, to see in this prestigious position. I thank you from the bottom of heart for taking time from your busy schedule to be the speaker of our webinar. All thanks to your enlightening words and inspired so many people out here. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to each one of you who participated in this webinar. No event can be a success without its participants. We expect your support for the coming events also. Thank you once again.
Thank you. See you all. Thank you. Thank you, sister. Great to see. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Great to see you after a long time. Probably we'll meet when I'm back in Kerala. Okay.
We'll see when you come to Kerala. No?
Definitely do visit our campus in your next visit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. If I'm definitely, I'll pass on. Okay, if the COVID restrictions allows, definitely I will pass on. I hope to see you all. I'm really happy to be part of this. It was a difficult day for me to join, but I made sure that I'll join here. And
I think you'll be coming soon, and when you come next time.
yeah, I'll come. I'm planning to come for the Christmas. Let's see. I'll
This webinar, you can give a seminar here in the college.
yeah, we can think about that.
It was a good session, and we got a very good participation. More than it's around 200 participants from all over the country.
Great. Thank you then.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
The formal session has come to an end. I utilize this opportunity to thank each and everyone for sparing your valuable time to be here with us. And we really look forward for your support and prayers today and also the years to come. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Feedback form will be given in your mail ID, and you can fill for getting your e-certificates. Thank you.